Get started.
Right. All right. So do we want to get started now? Sound good?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Hi, everybody. My name is Eliana von Krusenstern. I use she, her pronouns, and I am one of the general organizers for Mutual Aid Brookline. We're really excited to be hosting this town hall today. We're really excited to tell you about what we've been doing and who we are, and hopefully answer some of your questions. Before we get started, I want to just thank Brookline Interactive Group for hosting us and for sharing this town hall on YouTube and Facebook, and then on their streams. Definitely check them out at brooklineinteractive.org. And so thank you so much, Brookline Interactive Group. We really, really appreciate it. For today's meeting, we're going to, for the first half, we're going to have everybody introduce ourselves and talk about the different initiatives that Mutual Aid Brookline has been doing. So that's going to be about the first half of our meeting today. And then for the second half, we want to hear from you, and we want to answer your questions and hear comments from you. And so if you have any questions or things you want to talk about, you can send those in the chat of the Zoom call, or you can also send those on Facebook and YouTube. We have somebody who will be monitoring that as well. And so our question and answer portion will be the second half of this meeting today. So I'm going to get started and introduce my co-general organizer for Mutual Aid Brookline, Bonnie Bastian, who's going to talk about our background, our mission statement, and kind of the general who we are for MAB.
Hey everybody, I am Bonnie Bastian, as Eliana said, general organizer along with her. And I wanted to start with the general idea of what mutual aid is, because we certainly did not invent it. It has a very long history that everybody should read up on. Mutual aid is a form of political participation in which community members take responsibility for caring for each other. We work to change inequitable conditions, not only via symbolic acts or putting pressure on representatives in government, but also by building new social relations that create more livable and supportive circumstances. At its best, mutual aid should be accessible to everyone in a community, providing opportunities to engage in both immediate relief efforts and long-term systems change. Mutual Aid Brookline is directly accountable to our community that we serve. We are actively an anti-racist organization. We operate with the understanding that our current system, not the people suffering under it, creates poverty, crisis, and vulnerability. The COVID-19 crisis has highlighted and exacerbated existing systemic inequalities in our community. And so when we subsidize the cost of supplies and childcare, and when we facilitate direct contributions of funds to neighbors, we provide what is requested to the best of our ability and trust that those on the receiving end know the best way to apply those resources. Mutual Aid Brookline is a community-built and volunteer-run initiative that was launched in the very first days of COVID-19 quarantine by Eliana and I. I want to be very clear that we are not a nonprofit. We are not incorporated. We are just neighbors coming together as a community to help each other in a crisis as best as we can. We adapted an existing mutual aid infrastructure into a system tailored to the needs of the Brookline community. Mutual Aid Brookline is able to span all of Mutual Aid Brookline is able to span all of Brookline to ensure that everybody has access to essential resources like food, cleaning supplies, medication, childcare, and financial assistance as immediately as possible. We weave together hyperlocal neighborhood initiatives and collaborate with municipal departments and local institutions like the Brookline Foundation Safety Net Fund and the Brookline Food Pantry to make sure that we are all serving our Brookline community effectively and efficiently. The way I think about it is that those larger organizations are like large stones in a river, and Mutual Aid Brookline is the water that flows between them. We're able to be nimble and flexible to meet the rapidly changing needs in town while also catching our neighbors that fall through the cracks in these local, state, and federal aid systems. We started as a 2-person effort on March 15th, 2 days after the Brookline schools were closed, with a system for donations, a hotline, the beginnings of a volunteer list, and no contact delivery system. And now we have an incredibly well-organized system of community delivery coordinated by Liz Neal. We have a superstar hotline team coordinated by Sam Brady-Myeroff that serves as Mutual Aid Brookline's front door to many. An expansive language access team organized and led by Jay Hassan. A system to connect families with childcare and subsidies developed by Elena Brown that will now be led by Michael Kushner. We have a direct financial aid initiative that's currently under transformation, led by Emma Nash, who is also our website superhero. We have a new initiative called Odd Jobs and Fix It initiative that is just getting off the ground now, led by the lovely Katie Solomon and Seth Mazer. Our social media presence is managed by Amelia Gouch. Volunteer coordination is led by the delightful Teresa Amirati. And our fundraising team is led by Eve Ackerman. In addition to our organizing team, we have a team of 3,000 volunteers that perform all of the services I just listed. We can't do anything without them. And as we go through our initiatives, you will hear about all kinds of ways to volunteer with us. And when we get to the end, you'll learn about how to go about volunteering with us. We also will supply ways for you to donate to help keep Mutual Aid Brookline sustainable into the future. I also see that I did not say my pronouns. My pronouns are she, her, hers. So now we can pass it on to the first of the initiatives.
All right, thank you so much, Bonnie. First up, we have Sam, who is going to be talking about the hotline.
Hello, I'm Sam. 1 second, I'm going to share my screen. I have a little presentation made. So hi, everyone. My name is Sam Brady-Myeroff. I use she, her pronouns, and I run the hotline for Mutual Aid. And there's the number at the bottom. So a little background about me. I'm a senior at Brookline High School. I plan to study political science and law in the future. I've worked with Mutual Aid Brookline since March, so really right when COVID hit. And some fun facts about me is I am on the Brookline High School track team. I love to surf and I do a lot of art in my free time. So what is the hotline? So the way I like to see it is, we're the first line of communication between Mutual Aid Brookline and the Brookline community. So for a lot of people, phone communication is the most available. So we're doing a lot of those first conversations with people in the community, and just taking calls from people all over Brookline, from people who want to volunteer, people who want to donate, people who want our services, all across the board. We are open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. all days of the week. We take calls on all subjects, and we are completely staffed by an amazing group of volunteers. So they take shifts throughout the week from, like I said, 8 to 8, and they take, calls from the comfort of their home. So it's COVID safe, but also, we have such a great team, and I just really can't thank them enough. So some examples of calls that we might get. So we get a lot of people requesting grocery delivery, financial aid. If they need a medication pickup, we can help them with that. Also just general information about Mutual Aid. So if anyone out there just wants to ask who we are, what we offer, how they can help, feel free to just call, and someone will always be on the hotline to just talk with you and answer your questions. Library book pickup and more. We really offer ourselves as a way just to communicate, and anyone who wants to call can call, and we would love to talk with you and hear from you. So how to call and volunteer. Our number is up there. We are open 8 to 8 all week, so feel free to call. We are almost always open. And if we end up not receiving your call, either because we are closed or someone else could be on the line already, feel free to call back, or we will get back to you. You'll get a voicemail. And if you want to volunteer, you can email mutualaidbrookline.volunteer@gmail.com, which you will hear about later in the presentation. And we do ask that volunteers are a bit tech savvy, because we do require you to have your own phone and use some, different Google products and email and other things. But once you're set up with us, you will be able to sign up for shifts, and we really want volunteers to just take what is available to them. We don't ask you to, do things that are out of your comfort zone, or if you, don't have the time limit. So we are very flexible. So if you wanted, donate a few hours of your time, we'd love your help. So that is the hotline. And I think I will stop my screen share and pass it off to the next person.
All right, thank you so much, Sam. Next we have Jay, who will be talking about language access.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Jay and I help out with MAB's language coordination. So our language access team works to ensure that all community members can fully participate in mutual aid, regardless of what language or languages they speak. And furthermore, we believe that abilities in languages other than English are a valuable skill that community members can offer to help make our mutual aid network and our community stronger. So most broadly, we aim to support conditions within mutual aid Brookline and in the community that ensure that proficiency in languages other than English are a boon rather than a barrier. So our language volunteers power this primarily in 3 ways. One is communicating with community members via phone, text message, and email, primarily phone. 2 is translating written materials into various languages. And 3 is promoting in-language mutual aid outreach. So I'll run through each of those briefly. The first one, communicating with community members. The goal of this is to make sure that everyone is able to take part in each of MAB's different initiatives. So this is sort of in support of all the different initiatives that you're about to hear more about. So say someone wants to get in touch with MAB and they speak a language other than English, they can call the hotline, which Sam just spoke about, and tell us the language they want to communicate in. So for example, say Mandarin or Chinese, and then the hotline team will notify our language access team, and we'll have a volunteer reach out to that community member generally within 24 hours. And we currently have 24, soon to be 25 spoken languages. And so the second thing our team does is translating written materials into different languages. The goal of this is to make sure that everybody has access to relevant information about mutual aid Brookline and also about important initiatives in the community more generally. So a lot of what we've translated are MAB specific materials like informational pages, flyers, forms, emails, FAQs, and so on. And we've also happily been able to help some other community initiatives translate some key info into various languages as well. An example of that is we recently helped translate instructions put together by Inclusive Brookline about how to request, fill out, and submit a ballot. So there's your voting plug. And we've done these sorts of text translations in about 12 languages. And the third thing is promoting in-language mutual aid outreach. So this involves trying to get in-language information about MAB out into the community in ways that are relevant and appropriate. The goal being that it's not just English-speaking people who are seeing and hearing information about MAB. And this is, I think, a growth area for us, definitely, which we're planning to do more in once we finish our current process of updating some of our outreach materials. So the last thing I'll say is if you're part of our language access team and are listening in, thank you so much for all your work, and also that we're always looking for more volunteers so that we can build as wide and as deep language capacities as possible. And we're always thrilled to have any languages and any time commitments. So if you're interested or would like to learn more, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jay. Now we're going to hear from Liz, who will be talking about our community delivery program.
All right, can everybody see my screen? Wonderful. So hi everybody, thanks so much for being with us today. My name is Liz and I'm the volunteer delivery coordinator for Mutual Aid Brookline. You can see our delivery specific contact information on the screen. It's mutualaidbrookline.delivery@gmail.com or 617-651-1037, and that will get directly to the delivery service. So what do? We offer free contactless grocery and medication deliveries to anyone within Brookline. This can include subsidized clients, high-risk individuals, and both. It's important to know that subsidies are available with no questions asked, and all of your information is always confidential. We do run on rolling donations, and all of our subsidies come directly from our community fund. In order to ensure that everyone gets what they need, we offer subsidies of up to $150 per 2 weeks for 1 to 2 people, and up to $250 for 2 weeks for 3 to 4 people. But always get in touch with us about your particular circumstances. We shop within Brookline, both for the safety of our wonderful volunteers, and to make sure that those subsidies also help fuel Brookline's businesses. Our volunteer drivers go shopping in store and then get reimbursed, either by MAB from our community fund or by the client themselves. You can see our delivery dispatch hours on the screen. We're active Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday for routine deliveries. And then we're emergencies only on Monday and Friday. Emergencies can be you're completely out of or you're out of medication, and we'll put that through as quickly as we possibly can. We ask for as much notice as you can for routine delivery orders because all of our drivers are volunteers. So we try to find times that work for everybody when we're scheduling deliveries. Team or homebound or who have mobility issues.
Right, it looks like we lost.
I'm sorry,
Liz.
folks. I got booted
Oh.
for a second there, but I am back. Where did you lose me? Library deliveries?
It was like 30 seconds of you kind of cutting in and out, and then I wasn't sure if it was my computer or yours. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll go back a little bit.
Okay,
Sorry
cool.
about
Sounds
that. Okay, can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go back to the delivery hours because that's important. Okay, so we're active Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday for groceries and medications. We do emergency deliveries on Monday and Friday for out of food or out of medication emergencies. We ask for as much notice as you can for routine delivery orders, and all of our drivers are volunteers. So we try to find times that work for everybody when we're scheduling deliveries. We also offer contactless library deliveries. MAB is delighted to partner with the public libraries of Brookline to offer this last mile service for those in quarantine, homebound, or with mobility issues. Anyone in Brookline, JP, or West Roxbury with a Brookline library card can use this service. Just place your library holds as usual and then email or call us when your holds are ready so we can set up a delivery. We do deliveries from each library once a week. Potter Room on Mondays, Coolidge Corner on Tuesdays, and Brookline Village on Wednesdays. Our delivery initiative, like a lot of MAB, just hit our 7-month mark. We keep track of how much MAB delivery is doing. All public data is completely anonymized and helps us better address needs across Brookline. Over the last few months, we've completed over 800 deliveries and spent over $37,000 in subsidies. As you can see, about half of our total deliveries are subsidized, and 3/4 of our total deliveries have been for repeat clients. We distribute a weekly anonymized fact sheet to town stakeholders to call attention to continuing food subsidy and contactless delivery needs. We meet with others offering food resource initiatives in Brookline, such as the Food Pantry, the Safety Net, Brookline Housing Authority, the Public Schools of Brookline, and Brookline Thrives. We regularly refer clients to existing Brookline organizations to fill non-delivery needs, and they refer clients back to us. MAB Delivery, like all of MAB, runs entirely on volunteers and donations. We have both in-person and remote volunteering opportunities, including a team of 10 remote volunteer dispatchers who take down order information and connect clients to drivers, as well as over 100 volunteer drivers who lend a hand when they can. If you'd like to learn more about joining the MAB Delivery team, whether as an in-store shopper, a library delivery volunteer, or as a remote dispatcher, please send us an email, and Teresa will talk more about how you can sign up to volunteer with Mutual Aid Brookline. Long story short, whether it's a prescription pickup, a routine grocery run, library books and DVDs, or a birthday cake or Halloween candy, MAB Delivery has you covered. We all have something to offer, and we all have something we need. And what we can offer at MAB Delivery is free contactless deliveries to make sure all of our neighbors are safe and fed. And now I will turn it over to Elena and Michael to talk about another essential service from MAB, the Child Care Initiative.
Hi, thank you, Liz. My name is Elena. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the outgoing child care coordinator in Mutual Aid Brookline. I'm really excited. Our incoming child care coordinator is Michael. He's here in the chat, and he will be taking over for me this coming week. So really excited to have some new faces on the team. But I'll just tell you a little bit about our initiative. So the Mutual Aid Childcare started in March when the schools started shutting down, and there were many essential workers who still needed childcare, even though they were still going into work, but their kids were all at home during the pandemic. So we were working to match childcare providers with families in Brookline. So we had 2 different forms people could contact us, and we would do screening interviews with all of the childcare providers who are from Brookline. And then we would talk with the families and we would try and find them the best possible matches. So we're still doing that. We're still connecting families and making sure that they have the childcare that they need, especially going into the school year now. So far, we've connected 7 families and we've connected them with 10 different childcare providers. One thing that we want to emphasize is that the childcare providers have experience in childcare, that they have some kind of background doing childcare, and also that they are taking COVID precautions into mind when they're going into a family's house. So that's something that we've emphasized the entire time. And another service that we provide is that we can offer subsidies to families who might need them for childcare. So as of right now, we offer subsidies up to 20 hours a week at $18 an hour for families who may need them. And in the past, we've also offered reimbursements to childcare providers who have taken query checks. So if any childcare provider has a background check, we're able to reimburse them for that. We're able to offer these subsidies as we have the funds come in, which is why continued support is so important for the Child Care Initiative. For many families, we send up to $360 a week. We understand childcare is a high cost for many families because some of them are really needing up to 40 hours a week of childcare. We're fortunately able to offer that 20 hours for some families in the community right now as we have those funds come in. We're really excited because we just launched the Mutual Aid Brookline website created by our other coordinator, Emma Nash. It's super beautiful. We love having it up, and it was just launched on Thursday. So our Child Care Initiative is changing a little bit. What we're doing is we have a classified style board for childcare up on the website. If you navigate to mutualaidbrookline.com and go to the childcare portion, there will be 2 sections where you can put up a listing whether you're looking for a childcare provider or if you can offer childcare and you are looking for a family who needs care provided for them. we're super excited that this will be a great way for families to easily access different childcare providers in the community. And we also have a form that you can fill out if you would like to request a subsidy from Mutual Aid Brookline. So all of that will be on the main page of the childcare section of the Mutual Aid website. And we understand that as we're getting into the winter, there may be more need for childcare. We understand some people are still working or still going to school from home. They're doing remote learning. So as we are entering into the winter, we hope that more people can use the website and access those childcare resources moving forward.
All right. Thank you, Elena and Michael. Are you all set, Elena?
Mhm.
Okay, great. Thank you, Elena and Michael. Now we have Emma, who is our DFAI coordinator or direct financial aid coordinator, as well as our website coordinator. So Emma, it's all yours.
Hi, sorry, I'm just trying to find which window I had my slideshow in. Maybe none of them. Okay, wait, where's the present? Okay, sorry. Hi, my name is Emma Nash. I use she, her, and hers. I'm the coordinator for Direct Financial Aid Initiative and for our website, which launched 2 days ago. Go check it out at mutualaidbrookline.com if you haven't already. But I'm going to mostly be talking about DFAI because I think a website is pretty self-explanatory. So what is DFAI? So we launched DFAI in April in order to provide direct cash assistance to people in the community. And this can be cash assistance for anything. That said, the vast majority of our requests are for help with rent. But DFAI is a little bit different from groceries and childcare, just in that we're not looking to provide a specific service. We're looking to help with any service people may need by providing direct cash assistance as opposed to cash for a specific purpose. So far, we've distributed close to $19,000. That said, our total requests have been more in the range of $80,000. So we've met about 20% of that total need. And we currently have the DFAI shut down so we can redesign the program and start raising more money so that we can turn DFAI into a fund. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. So how did DFAI work in the beginning? Previously, in its prior incarnation, DFAI was not a fund, meaning there was no pile of donations that we were just allocating. Every single time we got a new request, we would send that request to our mailing list and fundraise directly through our mailing list. So in that sense, it was truly direct aid. People would donate directly to helping someone else. There was also no limit on how much people could request. We had requests that were anywhere from $150 to $2,000. How DFAI is going to change is that when we reopen, DFAI will be a fund. We will have some amount of money that we're distributing to people on a first come, first served basis, and requests will be capped at $150. We're also hopefully going to find a new coordinator or co-coordinator depending on that person's time commitment. If you're interested in taking on that role, please email mutualaidbrookline.volunteer@gmail.com for more information. Why did we change DFAI? As much as our prior system did help meet a lot of people's needs, it was also really uncertain. We got a lot of requests from people who didn't know when they would be getting donations, and that seemed really unfair to them, that people sort of got false hope from submitting a request and then having to wait a really long time to get any money. It was also fairly inequitable in that some requests would get a lot more donations and others would get no donations. And many people also did not really understand the distinction between us being a fund and us fundraising directly from our mailing list. And it seemed more fair to have a system where people would be able to request a set amount of money. They would be able and know that that was the amount that they were getting. Additionally, it will create less stress for us because it was becoming really emotionally difficult to manage a system where requests never really went away and where we were sort of pushing against a stone all the time to get these really huge requests filled. I hope that answers any questions that folks may have about how the system is changing. We're going to reopen DFAI once we've been able to get everyone who hasn't yet received $150 from us, who submitted a previous request, to $150. We're about 70% of the way to fundraising that goal. Once we've been able to fundraise that, plus the money we need to start a fund, we'll be able to reopen and distribute again on a first come, first served basis. Thank you very much. That's all I have to say. I will stop sharing now.
All right, thank you, Emma. Now we have Seth, who will be speaking on behalf of himself and Katie about our Odd Jobs and our Fix It initiative, which is our newest initiative here at MAB.
Hi there, I'm Seth. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I am half of a team that's trying to sort of figure out where we're going with things that you haven't heard of yet today. So we're not food, we're not medication, we're not any of the things that maybe you would need on a recurring basis. We're more of the my kid's headset broke and they need to be able to hear their class, or I don't have enough knitwear for the winter. We're looking at acquisitions of all these different things. We don't really know what needs are going to come up. The winter's coming, it's going to get colder. I know someone's going to slip on the ice and drop their phone and need a new phone. So we're a bit of a catch-all. I'm hoping to help people repair things more than acquire new things. I have a history of repairing furniture and tech, and if your kid's favorite stuffed animal's leg comes off, bring it to us and we'll sew it back on. So we're right now, we're still very much trying to figure out what we are offering. But again, as we move into winter, all of that technological connection is going to become more important. I'm collecting computer hardware, be it desktop hardware or old laptops or old phones or old tablets, and I am fixing them and redistributing them to people in need. We're kind of many generations into the data age now, and there's all of this still viable tech that's just kind of collecting dust in drawers. People have upgraded and just put their old stuff aside. So I think we're still developing our identity, but very much looking to the community to sort of find out what you all need. Hence the name Odd Jobs. And again, you can reach us at mutual aid brookline.oddjobs and also at mutual aid brookline.fixit. Yeah, talk to us. Tell us what you have. Right now, we're not doing any in-home repairs, so I can't come fix your stove or your refrigerator, but anything you can bring me, I will try to work on and find other people who know how to fix these things. I'm part of the larger Fix-It Clinic network, so lots of people trying to keep us going. As our economies get harder and harder, we need to stop buying new things and really try to keep things working. So that's what I'm here to do. Yep, I'm gonna pass to Amelia for social media. So I am done.
Hi, my name is Amelia Gouch. I use she, her pronouns. Like Sam, I'm also a senior at Brookline High School. And I started working with Mutual Aid Brookline in early April. I currently run the Instagram, which is designed to reach new people and share MAB initiatives. I think we're now at 300 followers, which is pretty cool. The account is also a place where we can share mutual aid related information and education. like mutual aid history, what it means to be a mutual aid group, etc., because it gets confusing and it's really interesting also. I also check the Instagram several times a day. So for those unable to email or call Mutual Aid Brookline, the Instagram is also always a point of contact. You can follow us at Mutual Aid Brookline. And that's all I have for you. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Amelia. Now we're going to hear from Teresa about volunteering for MAB.
You've heard from the rest of the team, volunteers come to us for many different jobs and through many different routes. You can talk to someone you know, or you might call the hotline, or you might be interested in a particular area like delivery and get in touch with those people. As soon as you've made some contact with someone on the team, they let me know, and I then set into motion the paperwork and the sort of thing that needs to be done. There's very little paperwork, by the way. You can also directly get in touch with me through mutualaidbrookline.volunteer@gmail.com. And if you know what you want to do and you let me know, I will put you immediately in touch with the coordinator for that area. If you don't know what you want to do and aren't even sure what kinds of opportunities there are, I can send you a list of the opportunities we have, along with the number of hours it takes, whether you're going to be signing on for a regular shift or doing something as you can. You can do more than one volunteer job. For example, people who do language translation don't necessarily work on a regular basis. They work as needed. On the other hand, if you're doing delivery, you might sign up for a regular shift, or if you're doing dispatch of delivery, you'll sign up for a regular shift. But we're very flexible. We're very excited to have people from the community helping other people from the community, and the coordinators for each area will work with you to make sure that you can meet your needs as well as the needs that we have from others in the community. There are also, I'll send you, when I get in touch with you, a brief questionnaire so that you can put down the hours you're available and the kinds of skills you have that you would like to put into use. We look forward to having you on our team. I've been with Brookline, Mutual Aid Brookline, only for the last couple of months, and it's been very exciting to see how many people have come together to help other people in the community. It suits all of my needs as a person who doesn't want to just be sitting on my hands during this time, but because of quarantining, I'm forced to mostly be home. So let me know if you think you can volunteer, if you have any questions at all about what volunteer opportunities there might be or what you think you will best be suited for. I can answer them, and I can also put you in touch with the people in charge of that area. Thanks so much. And back to Eliana.
Thank you, Teresa. So now, piggybacking off of that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the organizing team for Mutual Aid Brookline and what it means to be on our team, how we work, and how you can get involved with organizing for us. So like Bonnie said, our organizing team started off as just the two of us, working very, very long hours, and we learned very quickly that we needed other people involved in organizing this really large effort that we now have going. So everybody you've heard from today is part of our organizing team. We all everybody has their own initiative that they run, and everything is pretty independent. Once somebody has their initiative, that's theirs, and they take it in the direction that they see makes the most sense. And so then we also have myself and Bonnie, and we're just kind of the communication between initiatives and filling in the cracks. Our team meets every Thursday evening, and we get together and we talk about what's going on with each initiative. We share ideas, we talk about larger projects that we want to do as a group, and we just make sure that everybody's still in the loop, and we help each other in ways that we can. So if somebody is feeling overwhelmed with stuff going on in their initiative, everybody else is very willing to pitch in and help out. Our being an organizer for Mutual Aid Brookline is definitely a larger time commitment than being a volunteer, because you do have more of the back end legwork of making sure things are running. But it's also been, I think everybody up here can agree, is a really great experience and a really great way to get to know Brookline in a very different way that most of us are used to. So we are always looking for people to help us with this organizing effort. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of time. And the more people we have helping us, the easier it is for everybody. So if you're really interested in that, you can also email Teresa and let her know at mutualaidbrookline.volunteer@gmail.com. And we would love to get you on our team. So finally, I want to talk about fundraising. Eva Ackerman is our fundraising coordinator. She is unable to be here right now, so I'm just going to speak for her. So overall, for Mutual Aid Brookline, we spend about $2,000 every month. A little bit more or less depending on kind of how many requests we get. Most of our money does go towards groceries and childcare, but we also have money that goes towards other things that may come up. Overall, we have raised almost $72,000 in donations since we started in March, and we have redistributed $69,000 of that already within our community. So we have moved a lot of money, and any money that we bring in goes directly towards the MAB effort, goes directly back into the community. So as you can see, that's a lot of money, and it does take a lot of money to do what it is we do. A lot of the struggles that people in our community are experiencing right now because of the pandemic are financially related. So that is why a lot of what we do does require money. For subsidizing groceries and childcare, obviously we can't do that without the financial means. And so the next part of that is that all of our money is brought in through donations. 100% of our funds have come from community members, which is really awesome. And it means that we are a completely community-driven effort, but it also means that we need to constantly be fundraising because we're not bringing in larger grants. So our fundraising team meets once a week, I believe on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, and they discuss how to bring in money for us. They've had a number of campaigns. Last May, they organized a campaign that was run by high school students to raise money for the month of May, and they brought in $12,000. They've also done single day fundraising events where they were able to bring in $1,000 just through Instagram and social media. They really think creatively. They've done some awesome things. Another aspect of the fundraising team is that they have their speaker series. And so the speaker series, some of you may have been able to attend. It's a fundraising event, but it's also an educational event. So they've had a speaker series talking about racial justice and policing, and then another one about disability justice, where speakers talk about these issues, and then community members are able to come. It is not required to donate to attend these events, but we obviously also really appreciate donations if people choose to do so. We are always looking for more donations, and because of that, we're always looking for more people to join our fundraising team. We would love anybody and everybody who wants to help us raise the funds, because we cannot do most of our work if we don't have the funds to do so. No experience is required, and so if you're interested in helping us out with fundraising, please reach out. Again, you can reach out to Teresa and say you'd like to volunteer with fundraising for Mutual Aid Brookline. And so you can just email mutualaidbrookline.volunteer@gmail.com, and we would love to have you. All right, so now that concludes our introductions portion. We're really glad everybody got to meet us and hear from us. But another thing that's really important to think about is you've heard a lot about what we've been doing and what we're currently doing, but something that's also very important during this time is to look towards the future. So I'm going to invite Bonnie back, and she's going to be talking about Mutual Aid Brookline and the future and what we're looking towards. All right, Bonnie, it's all yours.
Thank you, Eliana. I just have one small correction to make. We spend about $1,300 a week and about $5,200 a month. I think he's switched month and week in there somewhere. Either way, so the future. So we are in the process of rethinking what Mutual Aid Brookline is and how we can collaborate better with our neighbors and find new ways to meet needs as they develop. We really, really want to hear your input on what we can do better and about any need that we aren't currently serving, so we can try to find a way to meet them if possible. We are also working to develop an advocacy element to our work. We want to understand what's needed in our communities so that we can push the town government to do something about it, to play a part in writing legislation in town, and hopefully inspire more of our neighbors into civic engagement, because we need you. We want to know what you think about school issues. We want to know what your perspective is on a vision of public safety, because we want everyone to be safe from police brutality, but also safe from crime. So we're very, very interested in hearing from you about your ideas about how that can be better. Are you worried that you will be evicted now that the moratorium on eviction is being lifted? What is it that you're struggling with? Please let us know, shoot us an email, join us to think about how to improve these things. We are uniquely positioned to do this work because we are on the front lines of the impacts of COVID. We are creative and strong, and we believe that things could be a lot better, and we want to work to make that happen. Side note, I am also a new town meeting member for Precinct 5. This means that if you live between Route 9 and Jamaica Pond, I'm one of your town meeting members. This covers High Street Vets Apartment, High Street Hill neighborhood, and the Greater Point neighborhood, and I really want to hear from you. And that's kind of it. That's what we're hoping for in the future. If you have more ideas, please let us know. And that's it. Now I hope that there are some folks that we can hear from right now.
All right, we are now opening for our question and answer and comment section. So we would love to hear from all of you. You can send in your question in the Zoom chat or on Facebook or YouTube if that's where you're watching. And then our team will answer your questions as best we can. All right. So
we did have someone unmute. Jay, did you have a question?
I'm typing it in. Do you mind hearing it?
yeah, no, you can ask. That's fine.
Hello, I'm Jay. I'm a new resident to Brookline, and it's very nice to be here. I'm interested to know what mutual aid is. I just came in late. I hopped in late, not 10 minutes ago. If it's worthwhile, could someone explain to me what the beginnings of mutual aid societies are? And I'm an active member of my church. I went to church here 22 years ago, got married, left, and now I'm coming back, having been divorced, and looking to know what's the vibe, what's going on, and very active in my church. And I'd also like to explore what Mutual Aid Brookline is about. So here I am.
All right, Bonnie, you want to take that one?
Sure. So earlier I talked about the general idea of what mutual aid is, because we certainly didn't invent it. It has a very, very long history. You probably experienced, or other people probably experienced it if they have a really large family. You have a need, you need a babysitter, your family member or close friend comes and does it, and you do something for other people in your family. So that is an aspect of mutual aid. There's historically the Black Panther Party back during the civil rights era. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but they did a breakfast program for people and children before school that was free, that they all just contributed to because they saw a need. Kids need food before they go to school, and they saw that kids weren't receiving that food, so they just provided it. I don't have a very I don't have a very long history in my brain, but it's something that's been around for a long time. And the general idea is that everyone has a need and everyone has something that they can give to it. It's also
a barter economy system.
Yeah, well, not even barter, like we don't, you aren't required to give back. We encourage it. We want people to have this circulation of give and take, but it isn't required that if we provide something to you that you have to provide to us.
Well, thank
It's,
you very much.
yeah, it's also a form of political participation.
Yes.
Where community members take responsibility for caring for each other. And in addition to just sharing goods or services back and forth, we work to change inequitable conditions, and not just via symbolic acts or putting pressure on representatives, but by also building new social relations that create more livable and supportive circumstances. And we want to be accessible to everybody in a community, providing opportunities to engage in both immediate relief efforts and long-term system changes.
Fascinating. Thank you so much for explaining that to me.
Yeah.
Could I maybe jump in on the end of that answer?
Yes.
I think there's also just an important distinction to make between mutual aid and charity, that a lot of the time we contrast mutual aid and charity or nonprofit work, because nonprofit work and charity work is administered by people who aren't necessarily receiving that charity, or it comes with all kinds of strings attached, especially if you register as a nonprofit, then you're receiving grants that have to be used in really specific ways, and often that leads to having to means test the people who are receiving help from you. So charity more generally can be a way of exercising social control, that we say, like, we'll help you, but it's conditional. And mutual aid ideally is supposed to be from the people who are in need of help for the people who are in need of help. And there are lots of ways in which that's not always true. But ideally, like, that's part of why our not having a nonprofit status is so important, because we're able to give without having to attach all these strings to it, if that makes sense.
Yes, and it sounds like you're cooperative in spirit.
Absolutely.
As opposed to 501c3 or incorporation is a corporate a cooperative design.
All right, thank you, Jay, for that question, and Bonnie and Emma for those awesome responses. So we have a question in the Zoom chat from Ellen. So Ellen asks, I have been sending checks to Bonnie. Does the new fund structure mean that I should send them to the fund? So our financial donation system, we basically have two funds going. We have our community fund, and then we have the DFAI fund. So if you have been sending money to us, up to this point, it has been going to the community fund. We are looking into changing then how, if we get general donations, if it goes to the community fund or the DFAI, and what percentage of that, how that will be split up, but we haven't decided yet. Once we do, we will, of course, announce that to the community and to our mailing list. The community fund is what we use for childcare, for grocery deliveries, and other miscellaneous things that we cover the cost of for people in the community. The DFII, as Emma explained, is for providing direct cash aid to people. So if you, however way you have previously been donating, you can continue to do that. For our checks, receiving check donations, they do get made out to Bonnie, and that goes back to the fact that we are not a 501c3, so we don't have an official incorporated status, so we can't have a bank account in MAB's name, but we do have full financial transparency. So if you send a check to Bonnie that is earmarked for MAB, it goes to MAB and MAB alone. And if you want to check out our financial system and see where your money is going, we do have a document on our website that you can go under the donate page, where we keep track of all of the money that comes in and all of the money that leaves our accounts, so you can see where everything is going, and we're fully transparent about that.
I think I can also add on top of that, that if you decide that you really want the money to go to, say, childcare subsidies, in your check, or if you Venmo a donation, you can write in the memo that this is for childcare, or this is for the DFAI fund, or whatever it is that you would prefer that money to go to, and we will earmark it internally for that. And also, thank you very much for continually donating. We appreciate you so much.
All right. What is Mutual Aid Brookline's connection with the town of Brookline? And anybody can jump in. Or in terms of not the town of Brookline, the government of the town of Brookline. So if anybody wants to talk about that.
I don't need to be always the one talking, but I do have an answer for that. Okay. The real basic answer is that we are not connected to the government, to town government. We do not receive money from the town, but we do collaborate with town institutions, or, you know, whatever. We do our best to meet needs however we can. And if that means we need to collaborate with, I don't know, if the select board decided to call us and ask anything about what the town is contacting us for, we would happily do that. We actively coordinate with efforts around BHA, although that's technically not a town institution. But yeah, that's our relationship to it. We are open to it. We advocate strongly in town government. But yeah, that's it.
And I would just add on to that in that on the delivery side, I do a weekly fact sheet. It's all completely anonymized data, but we use the general data from what we're doing in deliveries to inform town stakeholders of what we're seeing in terms of food insecurity and the need for contactless delivery in Brookline. And I specifically break those out because they can be overlapping, but they can also be two separate needs, right? The need for food subsidies, if someone's unemployment hasn't come in, if they've lost part of their income, if they have another household member now home with them that they weren't expecting. And then also high-risk individuals who don't want to go out into the community, don't feel safe walking into Trader Joe's, right? And even waiting in that distance to line. So I do a lot of communicating with a bunch of town employees each week, just saying, hey, this is what happened with us this week. I'm providing you the data so that you can use this and incorporate this in your plans for the future. Everyone in the town, as well as everyone in Mutual Aid Brookline, is thinking about what's next, right? Obviously, we're 7 months into a pandemic. We're probably not 7 months away from the end of the pandemic. So using all of the information we possibly can, working with everyone we possibly can to make sure that everybody is covered and nobody is slipping through the cracks.
All right, next question. I can only volunteer once in a while. What might be a good fit?
I think I can jump in a little bit with that. I think the hotline is definitely a really good option for people who don't have a ton of time, because we are completely self-selected. So you as the volunteer can come in and choose exactly when you want to volunteer, what works for you. So, you know, if you have, let's say, a weekend free, or you have one day where you know you're free, you can sign up for a shift, and all it requires is that, you know, you have your phone on, and you'll get, you know, we usually get a few calls per shift. You just answer those calls. It's really, you know, low, I guess, time commitment, but also we are super flexible. So hotline is an awesome place to start.
And I will absolutely take more delivery volunteers as well. We have 3 different ways that you can volunteer with the delivery initiative. The first being the first one that probably comes to your mind, which is helping, you know, going to shop in store for clients and then bringing them their groceries. We also have the library delivery initiative, which is contactless, right? So for volunteers who occasionally have time, it's totally ad hoc, right? We send out an email to our driver list that says, hey, we need someone to do a delivery. And then the first person who responds affirmatively gets assigned that delivery. There's no set schedule necessarily, although you can tell us your preferred days for doing deliveries. Library deliveries are contactless. So if you don't want to go into a store, it's that intermediate, you're doing it in person, but it doesn't really require a lot of person-to-person interaction. And the third option is, of course, being a remote dispatcher. I myself, even as an organizer, am a completely remote volunteer. I have only met one of the other people on our organizing team, and that's true for a lot of us. It's a great way to make connections with Brookline neighbors that you never otherwise would have met or worked with. The dispatcher role requires a little bit more tech savvy. We use Google Voice, we use Gmail, and we use Google Drive. So if you're looking for something entirely remote and you have like a 5-hour chunk of time each week or every other week that you'd be able to dedicate with a good internet connection, which I sadly did not demonstrate earlier, then please let us know.
I also
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to make sure, Teresa, if you had something to say, I saw you begin to speak.
Am I unmuted?
You're good.
I was just saying also, if you have facility in a language other than English, that's something that is very sporadic. We never know when somebody is going to need a document translated or need some, well, not face-to-face, ear-to-ear communication, but that's another area. If you're fluent in a second language or a third language, let us know. And that may be something where you were sitting around waiting for a long time and then suddenly you get a call. But as I said earlier, it's also possible, even if you have a limited amount of time, to volunteer for more than one area. So you can be a language volunteer and also volunteer to do delivery dispatch or to help with odd jobs if there's some particular skill you have. Seth, I think, is certainly a person of all trades, but there may be times when he can use somebody else also who has a particular skill. So I think about the skills you have or the kinds of things that really speak to you and let us know, and we will find a way to match you up and in a way that suits your schedule as well. That's it.
There's a question in the chat.
Okay, so
Can take that one since it's delivery related. So the question was, are you willing to train for the remote dispatcher role? Yes, absolutely. The baseline is you must already be familiar with Gmail or some form of email. But absolutely, if you have some vague familiarity, or if you've just heard of Google Voice and you don't quite know what it is, if you regularly make phone calls, you can generally do Google Voice. Google Drive can be a little bit trickier, so just know your own level of what you're comfortable using. But we do have training sessions, and they're just an hour long. I offer them about once a month when there's interest. So you're totally welcome to come to one of those training sessions and then figure out if it's a good fit for you. And if it's not a good fit for delivery, of course, we can always connect you with a different initiative. As you've just heard, there are plenty of opportunities with MAB.
all right, Ryan, do you have a question?
Yes, hi everyone, Ryan, he, him, his. I'm just curious, what does Mutual Aid Brookline anticipate needing additional of now that the eviction moratorium is set to expire? Not trying to.
That's one of the questions that we wanted to actually ask the community during this town hall. We want to know what those needs are, right? We're totally aware that the statewide eviction moratorium expiring is a crisis across the entire Commonwealth. But we want to hear, even if it's not in this kind of public forum, we want to hear from folks. You can send us an email from a dummy account. You can call the hotline with a block number. We are totally willing to take, anonymous feedback, anonymous questions. We also sent out in community notes, which is our kind of weekly digest last week and the week before, information about what to do if you think you are going to be evicted. So there is a CDC federal moratorium. There's some more information about that from one of our fellow mutual aid networks in Medford and Somerville, Mamas. They are fantastic. They have a great website about eviction resources, and also City Life Vida Urbana, which is another local organization that specifically works on housing justice. So yes, definitely talk to us. We're happy to help you get the resources that you need. And if you have any ideas, let us know.
Thanks, Liz.
Also, one thing that we forgot to mention is that we also have a virtual companionship program that was more heavily utilized in the beginning of the quarantine. But that's still possible, where we set people up who would like companionship in however you determine that, via phone call or Zoom, to speak with, to have someone who will check in regularly. So if anyone is listening, that sounds like a good idea, please contact us about that. We have lots and lots of volunteers that are willing to be companions, but not many that require companions. So please contact us.
I'd like to mention that you know, we are one of, actually, I don't think we've really talked too much about this. We are one of many mutual aid networks that has popped up recently. And we have our initiatives and the things that we're able to do right now. We have the things that we're moving towards, but right now, if there's a need that we specifically can't meet, we're also a good sort of switchboard for really connecting people with other resources, with other networks that can help them where we can't. So really, even if you have a need that you think is way out there, and you think that we're not necessarily suited for it, if you express that need to us, we're going to try to connect you with the people that can help you.
That's an excellent point. I want to mention also that we often refer people to places like the Safety Net and other larger funding organizations, because we don't have the capacity to solve the enormous financial problems that are happening around us, even though we wish that we could. And the Safety Net refers people to us. So we are very collaborative. Also the food pantry, as Seth was saying, other mutual aid organizations all over town. We do our best to do everything that we can to find some kind of solution or some kind of resource for everybody. Yeah, it's a great point.
All right, next question. How do you screen those who apply for help? And I think that can apply for any type of help that we provide, if people want to speak to that.
I can speak to that a little bit. So as I mentioned before, I would say this is one of the things that sets us apart from charities and nonprofits. We really don't screen people who need things for help. And the reason for that is because can be really traumatic for folks who are applying for resources. It slows things down. We prefer to take the people in good faith that if you're coming to us for help, it's because you need something, and we don't want to put morality clauses on it and require people to prove that they are in need for whatever reason. We take you at your word that if you're coming to mutual aid, it's because you are in need of something. I would say, I'm sorry, I find it easy to lose my train of thought when I'm in front of Zoom. Occasionally, there have been situations where we would receive repeated requests or requests that violated our sort of community standards. And at that point, sometimes we would stop taking requests from those people. But in general, we don't do anything upfront to determine what someone's situation is, if that makes sense. The exception would be for something like childcare, where when we were doing a matching service, there was like a more robust process for who would be a childcare provider, which I can't really speak to because that's not my area, but.
So I can speak to that actually. So we were screening childcare providers, but there was no screening system for families to receive aid. So if a family needed any kind of support, they wouldn't be screened for that, or if they needed help, they would automatically be approved for that as long as we had the means to do so. So there was no blocking families from getting that aid. Our only restrictions on providing aid for families are our financial capacity because childcare is expensive. So that is the only block in place we have, but otherwise any family that applies for a subsidy, as long as we have the means to do so, we will provide that.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Do you have internships? So I actually want to speak to this very quickly. We don't have internships, but we do welcome people of all ages and all professions and all backgrounds to help us. We have had a lot of Brookline High School students working with us. We have 2 who presented today on this call, and they do great work. Being, still in high school or does not prevent us, they're a part of our team, and they, they're welcome to take on as much responsibility as they want. I do know that, if you need to use like community service hours, we're happy to fill something out for you. But it's, so we don't have internships, but we would love to have you, any age, any profession, whether you're in school, whether you work, whether you're retired, we would love to have you join us. I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything, or Sam and Amelia, you want to add something to that?
May I hear me? I don't know if am I on mute or am I?
We can hear you.
What Eliana didn't mention is that the students who came to us mostly from the high school come from a social justice class. And we've also had students this year who are now taking the class. I know that Facing History, Facing Ourselves, which does high school programs throughout the country, is based here in Brookline. So if you are or you know a student who is taking a class from Facing History, which really talks about all the isms that have plagued our society for centuries, racism, anti-Semitism, and so on, and you want to engage in work that helps to alleviate some of the injustices that have been part of the world we live in, this is one way to do it, whether you call it an internship or you need community service hours, or you're doing it just because you want to do something that helps, rather than adding to the sum of human misery, helps to detract from it. Volunteering, whether you're a high school student or a college student or an older person, is one of those ways to do it. And we can call it anything you want to call it. And as I said, sign information saying that you've given a certain number of hours if you need that. But don't hesitate because of the name or the lack of a particular kind of organization around calling it internships. That's it.
Yeah, and just quickly, as a high schooler, if there are any high schools out there, I highly recommend, helping and joining. It's just something, really fun that, I've met so many amazing people, including all the people on the team, but also, really feel like I've helped and give back to my community, especially before, leaving for college next year. And I think, like I've said before and others have said, being a volunteer can be flexible and meet your needs. So if you are worried about, having having homework, or if you have a job, or anything else that you're afraid might conflict, we are super flexible and would always love to have you.
Yes, I definitely second that entire sentiment. What's really nice is time is pretty flexible overall. And it's also a really great opportunity to just educate yourself. I feel like I've learned so much and grown so much as a person and how I think about the world from working with Mutual Aid Brookline. I think it's very easy to forget sometimes, how big our community is. So this is a really great opportunity to just get involved.
All right, we have a question in the chat. Jay asked, what precautions do we take with regard to COVID?
I can address that in terms of childcare. So initially with our screening questions that we had for childcare providers, we had specific questions on COVID hygienic processes that individuals were taking. We were asking them about their mask wearing, about how many contacts they were having. And then we also encourage families and caretakers to have a conversation amongst themselves about COVID safety, because childcare providers would be entering their households. So we had a hygiene sheet that we provided for all of our caretakers that gave safety precautions that everybody could take. And then we made sure that the caretakers and the providers were just on the same page before they proceeded with childcare. We also ensured that any childcare matchings would only happen between one caretaker and one family at a time, so that we weren't crossing over. We don't do any kind of family group settings. We don't do multiple children in one home. It was essentially one childcare provider to one family, and that was in the effort to minimize as many points of contact as possible. And even though we're moving to our online system of people finding childcare providers, we're still going to be encouraging those families to have those conversations before they move forward with childcare.
And I can speak to it from the delivery side. So each driver is just paired for an individual delivery with the clients. Everyone wears masks, protective gear whenever they're going in stores. And on the client side, it's completely contactless, right? The driver goes out, does the shopping for you, drops it on a porch, at a door, in a foyer, without actually having a face-to-face interaction with any clients, which keeps the client safe, helps keep our drivers safe. And we're building a sense of community without any actual, face-to-face conversations. And of course, with the library deliveries, those are entirely contactless. The only person you interact with is a library staff member, 6 feet away behind plexi, also with masks, and everything else. And so many of our volunteer opportunities, the hotline, delivery dispatch, translation, anybody who helps with fundraising, those are all remote, right? So you can join the community, you can be a part of MAB without ever having to leave the safety of your own home. Conversely, if you want to get out of your own home and help with in-person things, we have opportunities for that too. But definitely masks required for everything MAB related if you're interacting with another human being.
Okay, next question. What's the deal with the community notes emails? How do I submit something?
Cool. Yeah, I kind of breezed past that earlier. So community notes is just a weekly email initiative. We send a weekly digest of Brookline happenings that are relevant to our mission. This can be anything from community events, announcements, free services, or petitions. The only prerequisite is that you can't have to pay money to experience it or join the event. For this week, we have a couple of events, virtual events. One is the Brother Outsider Screening Panel, which is hosted by our sponsors, Brookline Interactive Group. Definitely check it out. And we have a whole range of other things. We have a webinar on transportation in communities of color. We have information about the eviction moratoriums, a Rosie's Place advocacy hotline, free Thrives bags at the public schools. The town wanted people who might volunteer to hand out COVID flyers, Springwell drivers, and the food pantry always needs drivers, as well as a little bit of a blurb about town meeting and a petition from Boston College graduate students. So you'll see the common thread there is that these are all related to Brookline community. These are all things that are part of the mutual aid really ethos, right? So anyone in the community is welcome to submit something. It just has to align generally with our mutual aid mission and be something that you would be willing to reply all to the entire town on, because we do have many people on our mailing list. In every community notes email that I send out, there is a link at the top of the email. Anybody can submit something, just make sure you're giving us your name, a way to contact you, what organization or effort you're with, and then a little blurb exactly as you'd like to see it in the community notes email.
Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes left. So I would love if we could just go back and talk about our how you can get in touch with us, how you can donate, how you can volunteer, how you can get help. So Emma, if you could throw that slide up, since my screen sharing is being a little weird right now.
Is that working?
I'm not able to see it.
Oh.
I'll just share some info. Emma, we can see your general screen. To find out any more information, as we mentioned earlier, we have our brand new lovely website that was done by Emma. That's mutualaidbrookline.com. And so on our website, you can find information about all the initiatives you heard about today. You can find contact information. Emma, I don't know if you still shared it. I can't see. You're not screen sharing right now. You can find contact information, but our general contact information is mutualaidbrookline@gmail.com. So that's our general email. Bonnie and I, there we go. Bonnie and I both monitor that email, and if you just email that specific email, you can, we'll direct you to the correct email if it's for a more specific initiative. Our hotline number is 617-651-1468. So as Sam spoke about that earlier, you can call that number, and again, you can ask any questions that you might have, and they will direct you in where you need to go, or they will leave a message for the people who can answer your questions, and then they will reach back out to you. For delivery, since that is definitely our most popular initiative that we use, you can email them at mutualaidbrookline.delivery@gmail.com, or you can reach out. If you don't have email, you can reach out over the phone at 617-651-1037. If you would like to volunteer, you can reach out to Teresa at mutualaidbrookline.volunteer@gmail.com. And again, she will then help you get in touch with the initiative that works best for you to volunteer with. But again, if you just call our general hotline, or if you email our main email, mutualaidbrookline@gmail.com, because you can't remember one of the other emails, that's totally fine, and we will direct you to where you would like to be directed. If you'd like to donate, and again, we would really love your donations if you are able. If you're not, that's totally fine, of course. But we really do need money to keep going. So we accept donations in 3 ways. We take Venmo, so that's at Mutual Aid Brookline on Venmo. We also accept Cash App, which is also Mutual Aid Brookline, no spaces, no capitalization. And then we do accept checks. So if you do want to send us a check, you can make it payable to Bonnie Bastian. You can send it to our PO Box 470463, Brookline, Massachusetts 02447, and just make sure that you write Mutual Aid Brookline or MAB in the memo. So that is all of our contact information. Again, I would love to ask everybody to check out our website. It's really great. It's very user-friendly, and you can find out more about everything you heard today.
We did have one last question from Jay in the chat.
Oh, okay. So what do you think about the work you've done with MAB over the past several COVID months? Is it overwhelming? I can speak a little bit to that. So I've been working on this. Me and Bonnie started, we were working 14-hour days in March. It was a lot. Bonnie and I also didn't know each other before we started this, and suddenly we were talking to each other all day, every day. And I would say at the beginning, it was definitely very overwhelming. We were building something that we didn't really know what we were doing. As we've added people, it has gotten a lot less overwhelming. Having this awesome team of people makes it so much easier to do work that can be kind of tough sometimes. But having this team, we're also a support system. So if somebody is dealing with something difficult, you bring it to the team meeting, you send it an email to the team, and it makes it so much easier. And it's a group of people to collaborate with, to bounce ideas off of, and also to just get support from. Sometimes it can be overwhelming still. We deal with a lot of stressful things, but overall, I would say you know, as Seth said, everything is overwhelming, but it's also a really awesome experience. I lived in Brookline my entire life, and it's a really wonderful way to give back to the community and work with a really awesome group of people.
I would say that you don't have to be from Brookline in order to be a part of MAB. Having lived here only 4 years, I'm considered a very recent transplant. And I found it really helpful to be able to do something constructive, especially remotely, at a time when it can really feel like we're boxed in and we don't have a lot of avenues for communication or social hangouts or really just doing anything to give back to the community, right? And I feel like, you know, MAB has really helped me not live in a place of fear over the last 7 months and really just engage with my community, meet all of these wonderful people virtually who I will eventually meet in person and give giant hugs to, and really just make some connections, which actually helps fight back against that feeling of being overwhelmed by these crazy circumstances in which we find ourselves.
Yeah, and as somebody who's even closer, newer to Brookline than Liz, I've moved here only a year ago. When I found out that, and I'm not sure how I found this out, but you were looking for a volunteer wrangler. And I thought, I can do that. If I can do it from home, and I can figure out hours that suit my needs. I don't have a family at home at all. They're all grown. But I also guard my time. I have things that I have to do outside of MAB. And so I was able to figure out a job that worked well for me. And I've met only Liz personally. We met in the park. I felt like we were doing a drug deal. We exchanged books that we were each interested in reading. You know, I'll be the person in the blue coat. I'll be the person with the hat. But again, I having moved here so recently and shortly before the pandemic started, I live in an apartment building. I thought I was going to sit around the pool all summer and meet all my neighbors. I've met 2 people in a very large apartment building, but meeting people through Mutual Aid Brookline, even if my time is taken up in doing the work, it's valuable work. It makes me feel useful. And I've met people I might not have otherwise had a chance to meet, people who are a different generation from my own, who have different backgrounds from mine. So I think that life is pretty overwhelming right now, but one of the ways to grab onto that and have some control over it is by doing something that you feel good about doing. And again, as everybody has stressed here, hours are very flexible. People are not trying to make anybody work any harder than they can. So if you feel that you can't do the work at a particular moment, you say, I can't do it. I can't come to the meeting this week, or I've done what I can do for the week. And then you can manage it and keep it under control, and also feel good about what you're doing, which I think is important.
All right, thank you. So we gotta wrap this up. We do have to be done by 3:30. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who joined us today. We're so happy that we got to speak to you and meet you. It's been really great. And thank you so much to Brookline Interactive Group again for helping us make this happen. We really are so thankful for your help. You can find them at brooklineinteractive.org. So yeah, again, reach out if you have any questions, if you need help, if you want to help us out. And yeah, we hope to hear from you soon. Bye.